This is your Forecast First.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for trusting us as your local source for news, sports, and, of course, weather. We go to the America's Mattress Tower Camp. A little bit of haze out there, but the dew point and the temp aren't even close, so that is not fog. It's basically just combinations of little bits of smoke and pollutants. 54 and 51, mostly clear night, cool and calm, but that is all about to change. I am tracking multiple storm systems headed this way. Both of them have cold fronts as well as energy that will be infused as early as tomorrow afternoon. 83 and 81, and there's a good chance of thunderstorms during Friday night's game. I'm going to go over all of it together in just a few moments.
Now, first on the Western Slope, you're watching KREX5 News at 10 p.m.
Well, good evening. Happy Wednesday to you, and thank you for choosing KREX5 News. I'm Logan Wilbur. Recreation and outdoor activities, well, they're plentiful in Mesa County, but more options could be rapidly hitting the Colorado River as a groundbreaking Tuesday night on the River Park at Las Colonias is now just the start of development for both local businesses and recreation. KREX5's Adrian Thomas explains what businesses and residents think of the new park.
This groundbreaking is no ordinary groundbreaking. The construction of the River Park at Las Colonias is set to begin a new era for the Colorado River in Grand Junction.
It is just the most exciting thing that could happen in Grand Junction, and I think that we will be down here very often. I can't wait to see what else it brings.
Linda Fry and her husband are enjoying lunch at Edgewater Brewery, one of the only businesses right next to Las Colonias Amphitheater and the River Park construction site. One of the owners at Edgewater is also looking forward to the development of the River Park.
Well, I hope we get more traffic down here from people. I mean, it's only logical that people take advantage of access to the river.
The area where Edgewater now stands and the surrounding riverfront have been very important to Jeffries and the Edgewater team for years.
We moved down here because we love the river, and we bought this property in 1998. We built on it in 2012. Moved in here in 2013 with a production brewery.
Right now, there isn't a lot around Las Colonias Amphitheater and Edgewater Brewery, and the city is hoping that with the completion of the River Park, this area will become a favorite among Grand Junction residents. Outdoor and rafting businesses in town are also excited that there will be a new space for people to enjoy the Colorado River right here in Grand Junction.
It's going to keep more business local in the sense of you're not going to go to Moab for their daily stretch or Montrose for the play park or Glenwood for their wave. You're going to have the options right here in town.
The first phase of construction on the River Park project is scheduled to be completed by the end of November. First on the Western Slope, Adrian Thomas, KREX 5 News.
And in the courtroom today, after pleading guilty to the murder of his 2-month-old son, a Mesa County man learns how much time he will spend behind bars. Sean Oburn is sentenced to 18 years in prison after pleading guilty to being responsible for the death of his 2-month-old son. Prior to his sentencing, both the defense and prosecution focused on the injuries sustained throughout the child's short life. The prosecution and coroner both agree there is evidence showing the baby suffered broken ribs at least 3 times during its life. And after being transported from St. Mary's Hospital in 2018 to the Children's Hospital in Denver, x-rays showed rib fractures consistent with abuse. Former Mesa County coroner Dr. Havlick found evidence of 17 additional rib fractures which were in different healing stages, implicating the injuries stemmed from multiple incidents. In court on Wednesday, Oburn's defense argued the baby had been to a doctor 1 week before the death and no injuries were noticed. In his own words in 2018, Oburn says he could not feel his son breathing and squeezed him even harder. A Minnesota man caught with more than 30 pounds of methamphetamine is in court on Wednesday trying to get his bond lowered from $100,000. Stephen Crandall was given 2 options to get out of Mesa County custody. Crandall could pay a $75,000 surety bond or come up with $25,000 in cash. If released, Crandall is still in need of a judge's permission to leave the state as he is facing the highest level drug felony Colorado has. Crandall is one of 2 men arrested in June on Interstate 70 with 30+ pounds of methamphetamines as well as a GPS tracker. Tracking devices like the one found here are said to be used for drug dealers to know the location of their product and those transporting it. And making national headlines today, the White House released a memo containing a rough script of the conversation between President Trump and the president of Ukraine. Washington correspondent Alexandra Limon has more on the memo, as well as reactions from lawmakers on Capitol Hill.
The notes of the call reflect a conversation far more damning than I or many others had imagined.
The White House released a memo made up of the notes staff members took during a phone call between President Trump and the president of Ukraine. According to the memo, President Trump tells the Ukrainian president, quote, "We do a lot for Ukraine. We spend a lot of effort and a lot of time, much more than the European countries." Then President Trump says he does not think those actions are reciprocal. The Ukrainian president agrees and mentions plans to purchase U.S. defense equipment. That's when President Trump says he wants, quote, "a favor," and among other things asked the president of Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden and his son. At the UN meeting in New York, both leaders denied that President Trump pressured Ukraine. Senator Chuck Schumer of New York disagrees.
Does anyone think this conversation was in the national interest, or was it in the president's personal political interest?
California Congressman and chair of the House Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff, also says this transcript is incriminating.
A classic mafia-like shakedown of a foreign leader.
While Utah Republican Senator Mitt Romney calls the memo and the phone call troubling, other Republican lawmakers say they don't see a problem.
The accusation leveled by certain people before they read the phone call has fallen flat on its face.
Thursday, the Director of National Intelligence is scheduled to testify before the House Intelligence Committee. In Washington, Alexandra Limon.
Also making national headlines, the vaping epidemic continues to sweep the nation. But for now, in an effort to address the problem, numerous states and even a vaping company are making changes. Juul Labs has announced they will no longer be advertising their products, and they're also replacing their CEO. The infamous e-cigarettes will no longer be promoted in print, digital, or TV ads. And Juul CEO Kevin Burns will step down and be replaced by a senior executive from Altria. The maker of Marlboro cigarettes, the nation's largest vape maker, also pledged Wednesday not to lobby against a sweeping ban on vaping flavors proposed by the Trump administration. The company now faces multiple investigations from Congress, several federal agencies, and state attorneys general. On Wednesday, Rhode Island's governor announced that state would implement a 120-day ban on flavored vaping products. The announcement comes one day after Massachusetts places a 4-month ban on all vaping products after declaring e-cigarette use a public health emergency. In your fire watch, smoke is visible from Rifle and along the I-70 corridor between Parachute and Silk. The smoke is coming from a prescribed burn, so no need to call authorities there. And this is on nearly 850 acres of public land on the Rhone Plateau. Smoke will continue to be visible from the plateau through the rest of the week and into the weekend. Let's go ahead and check in with Chief Meteorologist Chris Nation on this one, because Chris, unless I'm mistaken, this was a pretty calm year as far as the smoke goes and wildfires go. But of course, we're not out of the woods yet, are we?
No, you're absolutely right as always, Logan. We had a really light fire season when you compare it to some of the ones we've had over the years where massive amounts of our forests have burned down. But we are not out of danger yet. Even though we're already into fall, we still had temps today into the mid to low 80s. We're still extremely dry, and a fire could easily spread in that environment.
All right, Chris, I'm going to need you to repeat that I'm always right just for everyone else in the newsroom so we can have that on record. But no, go ahead. Tell us a little bit about the weather.
Let's go to it, yeah. First of all, Logan is always right. But let's go to it. Smoke forecast. Now, we got a big one up down to the east side of Gunnison right there filling the valley. And the fire that Logan was just talking about is the red dot there. And you will encounter little bits of smoke along 70 if you're traveling through that region over the next few minutes. The wind shifting in that zone is what's causing that to occur. And it's actually blowing into the I-70 corridor itself instead of blowing around the hills and not bothering folks. Now let's talk about water vapor because that's tied to fire. There is moisture in the higher parts of the atmosphere, but we've got a thin layer of dry air just to the north of us stretching all the way to Denver, and we need to dissolve that layer, Logan. Now that is eventually going to happen. On the other side of the state, they're getting moisture that's coming up from the Gulf, and when we look at the drought monitor, it is a big deal. We are going to get another one tomorrow. You and I talk about this all the time. I'm hoping that with the storms that we had and the few that are coming Friday, we won't continue to see them add to it, but it takes a couple of weeks, so I wouldn't be surprised tomorrow, even if we get a storm, they add a few zones to this.
Chris, thank you very much. Something we'll keep an eye on there for sure. Around the region today, a judge has ruled there is enough evidence against one of the suspects in the STEM school shooting to go to trial. The STEM school Highlands Ranch shooting left one student, Kendra Castillo, dead, with 8 others wounded. The suspects in the shooting are 16 years old and 19 years old, and they both attended the school. On Wednesday, a judge decided the 19-year-old suspect should be tried with more than 40 criminal charges, including murder and attempted murder. The suspect's defense is arguing he was pressured by the 16-year-old suspect to participate in the shooting. Well, a vandal hit the Two Rivers Mosque last Tuesday with spray paint going all over the new sign. 1 week later, the community is lending a helping hand. The Two Rivers Mosque vandalism was caught on camera, but unfortunately, law enforcement has not been able to identify the suspect. Since the incident, members of the mosque and community have removed most of the spray paint covering the sign, but the community has also come together to help out in another significant way. A GoFundMe was started to help raise money for a new sign and better security equipment.
We're going to put another sign here on the wall. And also, we already bought the light fixtures. We bought the material we need. The light fixtures we bought, they are dimmable, so we can dim them. So that would not, I hope it's not going to bother the neighbors.
At last report on Wednesday, the GoFundMe raised $5,270, which is almost double the goal amount. A meeting was held earlier this evening so local law enforcement could talk to the church leaders about staying safe. All right, we're going to go ahead and shift gears. Good news for someone out there. We've got a gas card to give away. Congratulations, Mark Combs. You've got a $50 gas card. You have until the end of the newscast to claim your card by calling 242-5000. You'll have 2 weeks to come to the station, say hi to Logan and Chris, and then pick that card up. If you at home would like your very own chance to win, head on over to westernslope.now.com or the dealership right here in Grand Junction. Well, we missed out on most of the monsoon season and we're seeing a little bit of drought, but could a storm be heading our way this weekend? Chris Nation has your full forecast coming up after the break. And still ahead, touring the border. We'll go down to Nogales, Arizona for an in-depth look at the barbed wire border. We'll be right back.
The Honda CR-V is perfect for people from all walks of life. From the daydreamers to the night riders, and the carpoolers to the lone wolves. Let's not forget the young ones, and those young at heart. No wonder people made the CR-V the best-selling CUV in its class. Hurry to your Honda dealer during the #1 CR-V event and get a great deal today.
The Mesa County Workforce Center invites you to the 2019 Fall Job Fair, Thursday, October 3rd from 9:30 to 2. Meet with multiple employers with numerous job opportunities at the Workforce Center. For more information, visit the website on your screen. Brought to you by KREX and KFQX.
Mel Robbins here, and I want to see you at a live taping of my brand new talk show. You could win a trip to New York City, including airfare, hotel, and VIP tickets to the show.
It's the trip of a lifetime. Enter the Mel Robbins Show sweepstakes today on westernslope.now.com.
Good evening, welcome back. Start you off with the radars, all of them running, all the satellites, go 16 and 17. We even at least had a couple of isolated clouds today, and while there was no energy in them, it is a telltale that things are starting to change in the pattern. Let's talk about watches and warnings. There are none right now in western Colorado, but if you look at the top of your screen, just past the border, that is where we are starting to see more and more fire danger because of relatively low humidities and strong winds that are expected, and they have issued red flag warnings up there. Luckily, I don't see those winds mixing down here into western Colorado. Right now, we're at 65, winds southeast at 5, because at night the winds shift back into the Rockies because the air is cooler up there, becomes more dense, and it rolls down those hills and towards us, and there to our east. Now, we've got humidity at 27%, dew point 30, pressure has rebounded to 30.07. As you can see behind me on the America's Mattress Tower Cam, a little bit of haze out there. We're down to the last couple of weeks of needing the pollen forecast. I cannot tell you I am excited about it. Not about just getting rid of the graphic, but the fact that the levels have finally come down. Trees, grass, weed, and mold all now to low or even non-existent. So we are definitely at the very end of that. Current temps tonight in the mid to low 50s. You get down to the valleys, mid to low 60s. Same thing on the Utah side. That's still a good 2 to 5 degrees warmer in almost every location. The exception, us. Why? Because last night we had that little bit of overcast and we had a little bit today, and that trapped it, kept us getting a little bit cooler, meaning it took longer tonight than it did last night to cool off. Winds out there are veering, some of it from the northwest, but they have begun that switch to the southeast we were just talking about out of the hills. Dew points. You've talked about this all the time. Measurement of moisture in the environment, the maximum it can hold. Yes, it did rebound in the overnight hours as well in the last couple in the upper 20s to mid 30s. But the real problem is still humidities. Even with that bump when we were in the teens today, we're only at about 27%, 39 in Montrose, mid 40s in the high country. But don't worry, as I mentioned all evening, we are tracking 2 storm systems, 2 powerful cold fronts, as well as a 3rd storm system that will eject moisture at us ahead of the next one. Let's take a quick check of that. Tonight, severe outlook, no chance of storms anywhere in Colorado. But as we go to tomorrow, we will see moisture come up from a storm system I'm going to show you down by Baja. That bit of energy could bring 1 or 2 isolated storms as you're driving home. But the big event, unfortunately, does look to be Friday night as a cold front comes out of the Pacific Northwest and moisture and energy from that system comes up from the southwest. They look to collide right off to the west of us and then blast storms in. So now you know what you're looking for. We can break it down together. Remember I told you a moment ago about a storm off of Baja that's going to eject energy? That's it right there. Watch the plumes of moisture trying to reach us. Little bit of ribbon, dry air I showed you has sort of acted as a buffer to keep it from reaching us. That little area of red is getting smaller and smaller. It's just being fed off the back. Second issue, cold front coming from the northwest. Best way to show you that is the wide future cast. We had the high pressure that's kept things clear and calm the last 3 days in play, but it begins to buckle. Moisture begins to surge off the Baja system, and here comes the cold front. And while I disagree a point that this cold front will probably sweep through, look at that energy spreading through. So we've talked to our sports guys, and we know that the game's going to occur, of course, Friday night. Everyone in town does. The problem is the data keeps suggesting that that is when those 2 elements will crash together on the border with us in Utah, bringing that energy in. First tomorrow, a couple of isolated poppers on your way home. You can see them right there just to the south of us. Then we move through and we get to Friday for the main event. That's the cool front trying to advance towards us. Clouds develop, and at 6 p.m., computer projects thunderstorms to spread across most of western Colorado, off and on, continuing till 10 p.m., right during the game. So we're hoping over the next couple of model runs that some of it will move, but I wouldn't get your hopes up. I don't want to put these model runs on a big pedestal because they've been more and more accurate lately. Tonight, 54, mostly clear and calm. We have no issues with storms, winds southeast at 5 to 10. Now, across the valleys, we're going to come in at about the same. Mid-50s out there to a couple of spots. Now, let's see what they're going to see there. Yep, 52, and then we go to 33 down in Gunnison. For tomorrow, you are looking at sunny skies. They will turn partly cloudy in the afternoon. We will get to 83. There may be an isolated thunderstorm for your drive home. Across the region, the high country will be in the 70s, upper 80s on the Utah side. We're right between those two in the mid to low 80s. Now, let's take a quick check of the next 7 days for you. The best chance at storm energy does look to be Friday night and then again on Sunday with the 2 cold fronts. Also, breezy conditions could bring fire issues. Wednesday's high next week, 68 and 64 in Montrose. Now, coming up, we'll talk about that cold front. We're going to take another look at a different model run, but it's looking worse and worse, buddy, that there may be thunderstorms right during the game.
He's got a rain jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thunderstorms will delay the game, Logan. That's what
and then you have your Friday night show, and they've got to get back.
Right, exactly. We want to give them a final score and the best highlights possible, and the only way to do that is if there's a game. So,
that's fair. Yeah. That's fair. He makes a point. He'll have a couple more points after the break in full sports.
Hey, I just wanted to...
Hey, there he is.
Are you looking at the results of yesterday's Constant Contact email? We were supposed to watch that together. I'm sorry. I can't even look at you.
Constant Contact. Try email and our new website builder, free.
Just one drop.
Oh! Gorilla Super Glue Micro Precise. Of course.
Precise application. Controlled dispensing with Gorilla Strength. For the toughest jobs on planet Earth.
Today is the day that the old goes away. Today is the right time.
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Fuco Motors is clearing out the GMC 2019 models, and that means big savings for you. Go professional grade and get over $10,000 total value on a specially equipped 2019 GMC Sierra 1500 4x4 Crew Cab, or save over $9,000 total value on a specially equipped 2019 GMC Sierra 2500 HD Denali 4x4 Crew Cab. Don't miss this big savings event ending on September 30th. Fuco Motors in Grand Junction. Come test drive us and your new truck today.
Fall is in the air, and it's time for our trip to Stoots Pumpkin Patch and Corn Maze. Opening on Saturday, September 28th, you'll find family-friendly activities like corn mazes, pedal cars, kiddie train rides, horse-drawn carriages, corn cannons, pumpkin jumps, pony rides, and our gigantic hay mountain with slides. There's fun for all ages at Stoots Pumpkin Patch and Corn Maze. I-1/2 and 21.5 roads. Open September 28th through Halloween.
Storm Team Weather is brought to you by Guardian Storage. For the best security and the friendliest service, choose Guardian Storage.
And welcome to Full Sports. All right, a couple days ago, we got one side of the story. We heard about how Grand Junction, and they want to beat Fruita because they haven't done that in a really long time, but now they have a chance to beat their crosstown rival on homecoming night. And we talk about the Wildcats today, though, and how this senior class is looking for a clean sweep against Junction. I mean, it's pretty easy to root for both of the teams. They both have nice stories. However, this might be the first time since 2014 the Wildcats are the underdogs coming into the game. And I'm just basing that off of their 1-2 record. Junction head coach Mike Circo said to not pay attention to that because the two losses that the Wildcats have suffered have come from a couple of playoff caliber teams, Pueblo West and Chatfield, who Fruita already or nearly beat. And maybe I'm overhyping the game up a little bit. That's just what I do. But the Wildcats, they're definitely not. For them, it's just business as usual and try to get back to 500.
In a rivalry game like this, you have to throw out records. You have to throw out what happened in the past. It just comes down to who's going to play harder that night.
Across the valley, you know, it's as important as it can be, but as individuals, we're not focused about that. We're focused about, you know, growing as a team. We're focused about, you know, winning, obviously, and then coming off of that win. It's not necessarily about the bragging rights, but it's about the win.
Couldn't have said it better myself. These kids are just way more mature than I was at that age. Not making the game bigger than it needs to be, but it's still exciting and it's still a rivalry. Kickoff is at 7 from Stoker, and we're going to be live from there Friday night to give you more updates pregame. We're going to have the best coverage for you possible on Friday Night Frenzy. All right, let's go out to Walker Field where Grand Junction took on Central for some soccer action. Tigers up 1-0 early and they want more. Central's goalie gets aggressive, misses the ball. Luis Del Toro, he centers the ball, but Aguirre barely gets it out, and the goalie able to fall on top of it. Still in the first half, Josiah Koger crosses the ball. The freshman trying to pull out the bicycle kick. Are you kidding me? He wouldn't get it, but we can all dream, can't we? Those dreams came true later in the half as Koger, he gets the easy goal, his second of the night. Not as cool as a bicycle kick, but we're going to take it. Tigers up 2-0, and they would be back on the prowl. Enrique Hernandez gets cheeky with the back heel, centers the ball, and the Tigers would boot it in with 2 seconds left before halftime. A pair of goals in the second half, and the Tigers, they would walk away with a 5-0 win, and they get their second win of the season. All right, and just like Fruita, the Mavericks, they're 1-2 on the season. But they could be 3-0, but at the same time, they could be winless. Sounds kind of confusing, I know, but here's what I mean. They beat South Dakota Mines to open their season by only 4. They lost in overtime to Eastern New Mexico by 7, and then they lost to Western by 2 because of a field goal as time expired. And the team knows that they're better than a 1-2 record, and now, to them, every game is a must-win with conference play starting up.
Our players can see that we have not come close to our potential yet, and yet we're really close to being 3-0. I think what you're going to see is just what he's talking about. The intensity of our players and the focus is on being the football team we can be.
Just kind of like an attitude shift. Everybody's mad, but not at each other, you know, just at the fact that we're not who we're supposed to be, you know, who we think that we can be, who we've shown at times on the offense who we can be. We can be very explosive, and we just want to get to play a game that shows that the whole game.
And they'll have the opportunity this weekend. KJ also said that the offense has been average, and they've been giving opposing defensive teams points when they turn the ball over, which they obviously need to change. Every game is important, and they have another big one this Saturday as they hit the road to take on Chadron State, and it's the Eagles' homecoming too. But Chadron, also a very good team in the preseason rankings. They were ranked pretty high.
Okay. I mean, obviously, we're coming off a pretty good season last year with CMU. Disappointing start, but as the coach said, you know, you could be 3-0. You mentioned it also. You know, it's just a couple points, a couple plays.
It's really just a game of inches. You know, last season was kind of disappointing, but they had some outside problems that they had to deal with. And then this year, it's just a few plays. Like they said, it doesn't go your way. But the thing is, you can't let that happen.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's easy for us sitting behind the desk to say that.
Of course.
But, you know, this is a team, I have total confidence in Russ Martin and the team that they can turn it around.
Yeah, it's good to see that they're in the games. That's the most important thing. So.
Absolutely. And the two teams they lost to, very good teams.
All right, we'll keep an eye on them. Of course, we're keeping an eye on all the sports as we head into the week. Thursday night game, Friday night frenzy.
That's right.
We will be back with more news in just a moment.
What makes Colorado special? It's the wide open plains and the ones who work them. It's the ideas and the ones who bring them to life. It's the historic businesses and the ones who make history. Colorado is a state unlike any other because its entrepreneurs are one of a kind. And we're the bank that's been helping them grow for generations. Bank of Colorado. There's only one.
With 300 days of sunshine, of course you're going to get out and explore, whether you're hiking, biking, boating, or climbing.
Make sure you're prepared for the day. Know if you need to pack that jacket or bring a little extra sunscreen.
Watch KREX5 and Fox 4 for the most accurate and up-to-the-minute weather forecast.
So you can get out and play the Western Slope way.
Thanks for watching KREX5 News, first on the Western Slope.
Being a homeless teen is rough.
We can put an end to it. Alpine Bank is teaming up with the House for Night on the Street.
Come to CMU September 27th and celebrate the triumphs of teens who faced homelessness.
We'll have food trucks, live music, s'mores, games, and so much more.
You can also bring your own tent and sleep out so a homeless teen doesn't have to.
Sign up to raise funds to end youth homelessness.
For more information, visit westernslopenow.com.
We'll see you at the 2019 Night on the Street.
Who doesn't want more? More donuts, more coffee, more time, more information. More is better, right? Right, so to bring you more, we've created the KREX Cafe. In-depth interviews with local political leaders, nonprofit organizations, and local people sharing what they're passionate about, our community. And since we only have so much time in our newscasts and in this promo, you can find all the information on our KREX Cafe page on westernslopenow.com.
Brought to you by the Joe Reed team at RE/MAX 4000. Thanks for watching KREX5 News, home of the Western Slope Storm Team.
We're taking you on a tour of the southern border. We're 4 days into 10-day travels, showing us the entire length of the U.S.-Mexico border. Tonight, near Nogales, Arizona, ranchers show the barbed wire fence separating their land from Mexico. They tell reporter Anna Warnicki barbed wire used to be enough, but not anymore.
Literally on the other side of that bollard-style fence is Mexico.
Several miles up the mountains in Nogales, Arizona, Dan Bell says his ranch meets Mexico.
We've been neighbors with our fellow ranchers in Mexico for three generations.
But Bell says the only way he knows his property versus his neighbor's property in Mexico is this barbed wire fence. Where I'm standing right now is literally where the border fence changes from steel to barbed wire, and local ranchers say they're having to maintain it by themselves.
We've gone in together with them to rebuild sections of the fence, put brand new fence in that was over 70 years old.
Bell says the fence is there to keep his cattle from going into Mexico, but it doesn't stop people from trying to cross over into the U.S.
The border is south, and it runs clear across.
Bell's neighbor down the road, Robert Noon, says he sees people on his ranch all the time, but he considers himself lucky because there's a buffer between his ranch and the border.
The thing about my location is I'm close to the highway, so it's much easier access for the Border Patrol to patrol it.
Santa Cruz County Sheriff Tony Estrada says about 1,000 Border Patrol agents patrol the 50-mile stretch between Nogales and Mexico.
That is a lot of presence here along this border.
Estrada says Border Patrol focuses on the rural areas, like the acres of ranches right outside the city, because that's where he says more people try to illegally cross. For BorderReport.com, I'm Anna Warnicki.
Are there any senators in the chamber that wish to vote or change their vote? If not, the yeas are 54, the nays are 41. The joint resolution is passed.
The Senate votes to end the national emergency declaration made by the president regarding the southern border. The vote failed to get a veto-proof majority in stopping the border wall from receiving funds diverted from other projects. Colorado Senator Michael Bennet voted in favor of the resolution, while the other senator, Cory Gardner, voted against it, drawing the attention of former governor and 2020 Senate candidate John Hickenlooper. Hickenlooper says, quote, Gardner has put his blind allegiance to President Trump ahead of the interests of our state and national security again. Colorado deserves better. Hickenlooper also mentions how President Trump promised he would have Mexico pay for the wall, but instead plans to use funds allocated from military projects, including Colorado's own Peterson Air Force Base. We'll be right back with a look at your final weather.
WesternSlopeNow.com is giving away event tickets, memorabilia, and prizes. To see if you qualify for one of our exciting giveaways, visit WesternSlopeNow.com/contest to view the complete rules and details. Enter online and share your entry to earn more chances to win.
That's why multiple storm systems are on the way. Hi, most of you know me as Chief Meteorologist Chris Nation for KREX5 and Fox 4. But did you know that I'm actually a certified meteorologist with a degree in atmospheric science? This is a fast-moving storm. We've got an inflow notch, deep low-level rotation. Oh, and I also have an Emmy for my work in broadcast meteorology. So the next time you want fair, honest, accurate weather information that's more than highs and lows of the day, tune in every weeknight to KREX5 and Fox 4.
I'm Clinton Griffiths, host of Ag Day, the nation's longest-running daily television newscast dedicated to agriculture and the food we eat. Join me each day as we cover the globe's biggest news stories, from growing and selling straight off the farm to the hottest trends hitting the consumer's kitchen. Our team spans the countryside, from the fertile fields of Iowa to the halls of Washington. If it impacts agriculture, Ag Day is your source for the latest on air and online. Join us each morning for Ag Day, the country experience.
Friday nights mean one thing here on the Western Slope: high school football. Every Friday, we're going to bring you updates from the sidelines of some of the biggest local games. Plus, in-depth coverage, scores, and highlights of some of your favorite Western Slope teams. It's Friday Night Frenzy, only on KREX5 News.
Presented by Tim's Auto Glass. Storm Team Weather's 7-day forecast is brought to you by your Mesa County Human Services, helping individuals and families achieve safety, stability, and meaningful employment.
All right, since it's such an important game, let's take an even closer look at the model run and run you hour by hour. Now, keep in mind, I guarantee one thing: the model run will be different tomorrow. There's the hour by hour as we move through the game, isolated energy, one big blast at 10 o'clock. So if the game stretches on, we might have some issues. But again, don't worry yet.
All right,
don't worry yet.
I'm trying
We're going to
to
get a new
calm.
model run tomorrow. It'll be okay.
I'm trying to stay calm.
We're going to prepare for rain, but we're going to
Yeah.
keep it all eyes on all your forecasts,
Yeah.
make sure we know what's happening.
And the silver lining is that we've basically been cheated all summer, so maybe we'll just get cheated again.
There you go.
That'd be cool.
Silver lining.
Cheaters. Can't go wrong. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow.